Alright, what's good YouTube? Gentlemen, Thomas here back with another video on the channel, and we have returned. We took a little bit of a break because I didn't have any leagues lined up when we finished WPF, and I kind of was like, you know what, let's wait a little bit and see when a couple leagues starts up so we can take like a small break. It was kind of nice, but you know, I'm kind of ready to get back into to do some battles, to do some recordings, so that is why we're here with our NPBA Season 5 draft analysis. So we are returning to the NPBA for our third season. This is going to be a second season where we are here for the full full weeks, or the full league campaign, I hope at least. And I'm very, very excited. We got to stay in the Kanto division, which Kanto division is the highest division of NPBA. It goes Kanto, Johto, Ho, and Sinnoh. And then it has the or like, I believe that's from like a side game of Pokemon. Or division, which is like more, have some sort of weird format. It can be like Gen 5 or Uber, I think, or something. I can't even remember what it is this time around, but that's what OR is. So yeah, we're NPBA. I'm pretty excited about this. I'm very scared because a lot of really good coaches are in it. A lot of them from last season, but also a couple of new ones that I actually kind of do know are pretty good. And I'm just hoping we can do better than last season. If we get to playoff, that is like the goal. That is what we want. That is perfect. But if we can just place better than last season, I'm overall happy. Now, we were picked 14 out of 16, which is not a terrible pick. It's like okay. We can kind of plan a little bit around the wheel. It's definitely better than pick like 7 to 12, which are probably some of the worst because you're straight in the middle. You don't really get to plan a whole lot out. You just have to see what falls to you and what comes back to you, basically. Where 14, I can see, okay, these two months are here. I can probably hope I can get both of those, and then I can build around that. I didn't really do it this time around because there are some stuff weird with the team, I'll say that much. Now, we have to draft 9 to 11 Pokemon with the total cost of 115 maximum. As you see at the top left, we have 115 points. This is a very, very standard draft format. You can sometimes see 9 to 12, or you can see like 120 points or 110 points. I think I've seen like 105 points budget one time because it was like it was meant to be kind of difficult to draft, and overall that can be fine, but I like this like standard format. It makes it easy. It makes it easier to always be able to visualize what it is you want because you know kind of what each mon has somewhat of a price. So the standard is just kind of this. Now we have 9 weeks of battle this week, which means also of course 9 weeks of battles this season, which also of course means 9 videos at minimum. Again, we would like to get the playoff where we can just place better than last season. I'm overall happy, but I would prefer to get to playoff. Now, what's going to be interesting about this season is I want to draft some bulk. So my teams tend to be a lot of balance, which balance is not a bad way to build. It's a good way to kind of just have some neutral ground you can go by. But this time around, I wanted to focus a little bit more on like straight up just bulk. I wanted to have a lot of bulky mons. I like the whole bulky offense kind of strat. I think that's kind of what's fallen to be my sort of play style. So it works if I draft bulky mons, of course. Now, another thing I really wanted to do was retry some old favorites. So I always tend, whenever I draft with more so, it's something I thought that I would always do is I would try and draft new mons. Like half the team would be new mons each season for everything I played, and I'm kind of hitting the point where there aren't a whole lot of mons I haven't tried that I really want to try. There's some mons I haven't used, but I also don't really care about using them, so that's why I haven't used them. There's a couple mons I still want to try and use, but they just didn't come up this time around. So I want to retry some old favorites from other leagues. Some I've used recently even, and some I've used in I haven't used in like a very long time. So I'm pretty excited about that. And I wanted to not be too nitpicky. So when I mean nitpicky is I tend to always have this very hard focus on wanting this amount of knockoff users, this amount of stealth rock abusers, and this amount of defoggers and whatnot. And I didn't want to focus too much about that with this team because that does kind of take a little bit away from the creativity and some of the mons you can pick, because you kind of need this amount and this amount and this amount. I still of course want at least, I think, two stealth rockers and 2 defoggers. That's typically pretty decent. But I wasn't going to be going for one mon specifically just because it could do stealth rocks or defog or anything. I wanted to try and not do that this season. And I guess with all that, let's just head into the very first mon. So the first mon for the Copenhagen Galley in our NPBA Season 5 is going to be Zapdos. So Zapdos is a very good mon. It's a very good, like, just overall utility. Access to U-turn, which I know I just told about the whole nitpicky thing, but it's still like a very good plus for Zapdos. Having both U-turn and Wall Switch, you can make sure you won't be trapped by like a ground type if you only had Wall Switch. Get access to defog, access to roost, really good defensive mon, but it can also be pretty good, very good offensively actually. 125 special attack is nothing to laugh at. And it's just generally a really good overall mon. Like, it's one of those where the opponent looks at it and it's like, okay, how do I kill this thing and how do I make sure it doesn't kill my team? So that's why I went with Zapdos first of all. I could maybe have gotten for a slightly more like powerful mon for my first pick, but I really wanted to reuse Zapdos. I used it once before and I loved using it, so I kind of just wanted to do it again. And to pair with Zapdos, the next mon doesn't pair that great with Zapdos, just the two, but I really wanted to reuse this again, and that is Larios. So as you can see, the nicknames, by the way, are at the bottom if you didn't figure that out already. Larios, Spearmint. I used this in my very first draft league I ever did, and I have not used it since. So I was like, let's get it back. Let's try it again. Let's run it one more time. It's a very good offensive mon. It's the offensive variant of the two Latis, like the two. I can't even Eon Duo, I think they're called. It got access to Aura Sphere and I think Mystical Fire with the release of Gen 7 or 8, one of the two. 8. I'm pretty sure it's 8. And that kind of just made it really, really good, like even better, because now it can hit steel types. It can drop Draco Meteors like it's nobody's business. It's a pretty good Surf Scarf user. It can have some utility. It does get access to like defog and other stuff that Latias also does. But generally, you do want to run it offensively. Now, to pair with these two, there was one other mon that I really, really wanted, because I recently used it in a league, like off screen, like not recorded, and I absolutely fell in love with it, and that is Boswell. Boswell is such a good bulky mon. It's gonna be named Jimbro because it is your Jimbro. Yeah. But I paired this up with like a Blissey, so I had a Boswell Blissey combo, and it was amazing. Like, they cover each other very well. Any special attack that wanna go for Boswell, you swap into a Blissey. Any fighting move that wanna hit the Blissey, you just swap into the Boswell. Of course, there are some synergies here. You have to like fill out with other mons, but those two just in general cover each other so well. Boswell can also be really amazing offensively, like 139 attack with like an Adamant Nature Choice Band kills pretty much anything, even if it's resisted. And it can be a pretty decent Choice Scarf user. A little bit on the slower side, even with a Choice Scarf for today's meta, but I think it can overall work with it. Get access to roofs again. We can heal with all 3 of our mons so far, which I'm very happy about. Doesn't get a whole lot of utility. Like, you get Toxic, which Toxic is good, but it's okay. It doesn't get like any Thunder Wave or anything. It's kind of straightforward, but at the same time just very, very good to use. Now, the next mon we ended up drafting is kind of similar to Boswell in a lot of ways, and that is Mega Venusaur. So, very bulky, very good against fighting types, really good against fairy types as well, as long as the fairy types aren't like a God of War that is part psychic. The reason why I wanted to use Mega Venusaur, we are still on I want to retry some old favorites. I didn't think too much about like a good synergy here in the beginning, which does maybe end up costing me a little bit towards the end, but overall I think it's fine. Mega Venusaur, again, very good mod, so good. Like, it does actually get access to knockoff, which is pretty good. Lead Seed, Sleep Powder, Synthesis, of course, Sludge Bomb, Giga Drain, Earth. It got Earth Power, I think, in Gen 8. So overall, it's just a really good mod. It can sit there in front of a lot of teams, even if it's sometimes weak to a move, like a flying move, a psychic move. It can actually just sit there and take it and dish damage back. And it's also really good, like, mod to just kind of scout out what your opponent is doing, because they are most likely not going to be able to one-shot your Mega Venusaur. Now, after this pick is where we started to see a bit more panic a little bit, because a couple of monsters I wanted, Blissey being one of them, Incineroar being another one, got taken in the same round. So all of a sudden I had to shift a lot of my plans, and I was like, I don't know what to do now. Which normal do I get? Which dark type do I get? So you know what? I just said, fuck it. I'm gonna blend them. So I took Obstagoon. Obstagoon is another mon I used a little bit ago that I really like. It's a really good breaker. Like, it just breaks anything. It hits so hard with the Guts Flame Boost. You could be Choice Scarf Reckless, though I do prefer Guts a little bit, but Choice Scarf Reckless can definitely be really, really good. Gets access to knockoff, of course, facade, close combat, which means you can hit like pretty much anything in the entire game. I'm not 100% sure if there even is any mon that resists all three of those, but if there is, I guess that's the perfect counter for Obstagoon. But you do also have access to like the elemental punches if you need those, but generally you don't really run them that much. You can have Parting Shot for momentum, though I do prefer to stay in with my Obstagoon and just do damage. And my personal favorite, like, kind of tech is Switcheroo, because you can Switcheroo like you burn if your Guts sets, which is really good against a lot of defensive mons that are physical. I did it against Lander's Therian at some point, I remember, and that was really, really cool. Just being able to burn it with the Switcheroo and then just don't care anymore. But yeah, Obstagoon, it kind of came here on the back end of not being able to get Blissey and Incineroar, but I think it's all going to be pretty good. It gives us a little bit more breaking power, which the team kind of needed a little bit. We had Larios, and I guess offensive Zapdos can do it, but now we have one on the physical side in Obstagoon. I guess I shouldn't underestimate breaking power on Boswell. I'm just used to running Boswell kind of defensive, but I know offensively it's just as good. Now, next up, we have Empoleon, also Trident the Empoleon. So this kind of resulted in a little bit sorry. This resulted in a little bit of us having to switch some stuff around. So I wanted Blissey and Incineroar, which both of them were cheaper than Obstagoon, only by like 1 and then 2 points, I think, or something like that. But it made it so we had less points, so I couldn't get the water type I wanted. So that, and also now I also kind of liked a little bit of defensive typing here and there. So I opted to go for Empoleon because I wanted my Steel type, and having the water type is always great. I actually did want an offensive speedy water type in Inteleon originally, I believe, but I had to, as I mentioned, I had to swap it around. We ended up with Empoleon. I'm a little bit sad because I really wanted to wait with drafting Empoleon until we potentially got the Legend Arceus variant of Empoleon where it does get Roost. Because when this thing gets Roost, I think this is gonna go to tier 2. Like, Empoleon has so much utility in Scald, Knockoff, Roar, Stealth Rock. Of course, Toxic isn't as perfect. You have a decent amount of like coverage moves, like not a lot, but you have like Grass Knot for other water types, water ground types, and stuff like that. So if you give this thing Roost so it can heal, oh my god, it's gonna be so good. So I kind of wanted to wait, but I ended up picking the Hibbage because it kind of just fit. And I already picked a lot of the mons that I really wanted to use, so I thought let's get a mon that actually kind of works with the team. Yes, it is another fighting weakness with Obstagoon, but if you look at our first 4 mons, we have 4 fighting resists right there, so it's not too bad. Next up, we have Mudsdale. So Mudsdale was the ground type I probably wanted the most. I thought about actually about 3 picks in to pick up Escadrille and Gigalith for like a Sandcore, because I ran Sandcore in my championship in WPF, and I really liked that. But I also really wanted to reuse Mudsdale. I only used it once before, and it's been such a long time that I barely remember it. So I wanted to reuse Maximus the Mudsdale. Very straightforward. Probably gonna run like Earthquake, Close Combat, Earthquake, Rock Slide, Stealth Rock, stuff like that. Good with like stamina, so it's really good against like physically offensive mons, and we already have like pretty good. Our physical defense is definitely better, but we do also have some decent Speed F bulk in like Mega Venusaur and Zapdos that can both be Speed F if you wanted to. But yeah, I just wanted to try Mudsdale. I feel like it's gonna fit decently on the team with a pure ground type. It can resist the rock types that we didn't really have much of a resist for before. I know we had Empoleon, but most rock type also gets like a ground move, so being able to resist like rock and not be weak to ground is kind of nice. Now, if I remember correctly, the next mon is kind of one of the more odd ones. It's the new mon that I've never used before, and I'm gonna be honest, I am only picking this up because I've seen other people use it, and it looks to be a very fun mon. It looks to be kind of the type of mon that I like. I figured out with when I used Naganadel in WPF that I really like having a specific mon I know I can in-game sweep with, and that mon is gonna be Mimikyu. So we needed the fairy type, and I did plan from the beginning that I wanted Mimikyu, but I knew I could like wait quite a bit because it's not the most popular mon when it comes to drafting. It's like either you want Mimikyu and you have like a plan around it, or you don't want Mimikyu. It's not like it's not one of those mon you'd pick because, oh my god, I need a fairy type. You go for a Aromatisse. I see, like, fairy is probably more picked than this. Stuff like that. What's it called? The Gen 8 one, the Gen 8 fairy. Oh, what's it called? I literally just used it. What's it called? Alcremie, that's it. But I wanted Mimikyu. I think this is gonna be really good. Like endgame sweep, we don't have issues breaking steel types, but it's not the easiest for a team. Like, we do have Boswell. Obviously, we can break pretty much any typing. Mudsteel is pretty good against this. Zapdos is neutral. Larios now has access to like Aura Spheres. We can get rid of them. And I think Mimikyu can kind of run wild. I think it could be really, really good. And I'm kind of excited about using Mimikyu. I'm excited to see what I can do with it. By the way, the reason why it doesn't have a nickname is because I don't know what to name in Mimikyu. So if you see this video and you have a suggestion, please let me know in the comments down below. I would love it. And next up, we have Aerodactyl. So this is kind of also the new mon, but this is the new mon that I kind of picked because I needed it. Our fastest mon for so far was Larios at 110, and 110 is not a great cap to have. Like, having a little bit higher than that is typically preferred. And I've never used Aerodactyl, so I was like, you know what? It's not a Stealth user, it's not a Diva user, it has good speed tiers, and it can be pretty decent offensively. 105 attack, I believe it is, 130 speed. So we can so anything, as long as nothing has like bullet punch or ice shot priority, this should be pretty good against a lot of teams. And it can be like a suicide lead if needed to as well. So I'm pretty overall happy about picking up Aerodactyl, and I'm gonna be excited to try and use it a bit. By the way, Skyterra is a reference to the old card game Master Duel. No, it's not Master Duel. Oh, what's it called? I just know Gatling Skyterra was one of the boss mons. I can't even remember what the card game is called anymore. But yeah, that is what the name is from. Now, lastly, we had 1 point left over, and I picked up Breon. I did it because I think having the pure water type together with Empoli is pretty good. It gives us like another ice resist, which a team is pretty weak to ice. I don't know how often it's gonna come, but I did actually look at it a little bit, and 91 special tech and 81 Spidef with like an EV light is not too terrible. Still has access to flip turn the same way Primarina does. I'm pretty happy about that. Unfortunately, it's not a fairy type. I would actually have loved if it was a water fairy type the same way Primarina is, because having the extra fairy would not be bad when Mimikyu is our current fairy. But overall, I think this can come to like 1 or 2 games, and I know one thing it can do that I probably will try out, but I won't talk about that right now. We might talk about that when we get to it at that point. But yeah, this is our team for this season. It's a strange one. I'm not gonna lie, it's very, very strange. I like it, but I definitely can also see the flaws with it. I might pick up something in transactions at some point after I tested the team out a little bit. But again, this is a team of a lot of mons I wanted to use. Like, I think the first 8 mons, I think 7 of them were mons I really wanted to use, and 1 of them was kind of picked up because we needed to, and that's Empoli. But Empoli is kind of good still, so I'm pretty happy about that. And yeah, I think this is going to be a fun season. But I'm definitely prepared to having to play a little bit better than what I'm typically used to, because this team, I can see the flaws in the team definitely. But yeah, as always, if you like the video, make sure to leave a like on the video, leave a comment down below with a thought of the team. I think it's interesting, but I can also see the flaws. And subscribe to the channel for future videos. And with that, I'm out. Peace, YouTube.